update from Western Mass News.
Good Thursday afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Pisano with a look at your headlines. Former President Trump facing his third arrest in just 4 months. This time, a third indictment on 4 felony charges. He's scheduled to appear before a magistrate judge in Washington, D.C. this afternoon on 4 federal criminal charges related to his alleged efforts to incite a riot and attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Today was graduation day for the latest Massachusetts State Police recruit class. Of the 165 graduating today, 143 are men, 22 are women. 75 of them have some prior service with other law enforcement agencies, and 33 have prior military service. The new troopers will begin their assignments with state police barracks across the state. They'll each be paired with a field training officer for their first 3 months of service. And local officers now have a new piece of technology to help them with their fight against drugs. It's called TruNarc. The handheld device can be used to test suspected narcotics on site to identify the chemical makeup of any drug like fentanyl. The device was donated by the Massachusetts National Guard as part of an ongoing partnership in the fight against the opioid crisis. It will be used by the Narcotics Task Force from the Hamden DA's office.
I'm meteorologist Jana Brown with a check of your forecast. Tonight, there's a chance for a shower or thunderstorm, especially after midnight. Otherwise, breezy and warmer. Temperatures only dropping to the low to mid 60s, and it will feel a little bit humid overnight. But the humidity kicks up quite a bit on Friday. We've got a warm front passing in the morning, which could bring a couple of showers or thunderstorm early. But the majority of rain we're expecting will come later in the afternoon and evening. Looking like from roughly 4 to maybe 8 p.m., we'll have a line of thunderstorms that could cause some damaging wind gusts, bring some hail, and potentially even lead to some flooding and flash flooding. It'll be very humid with temperatures in the mid 70s, and wind could occasionally gust up over 20 miles an hour, especially in any storms. So once we get behind this cold front, the weekend looks to dry out nicely. Dew points will be falling throughout the day Saturday. High pressure takes over for Sunday, leading to a pretty decent weather day. And then on Monday, we'll be tracking our next weather maker, and that's going to start bringing in more humidity. Temperatures, though, look fairly steady. We've got highs in the lower 80s straight into early next week, with showers and storms late Monday into Tuesday.
Stay with Western Mass News on air, online, and on our app throughout the day for breaking news, weather, and exclusive content.